So, are you ready to dive in? Because today we're talking about Leroy Neiman.
Oh, yeah.
We always say this name and people usually associate it with Playboy,
Right.
right? And there's a lot more to the story here. So you've got all the research.
I do.
We're looking at his style, his subjects, even a term he coined, Neimanism.
Yeah, Neimanism's interesting.
But what is the real story?
Right.
Let's see if we can figure this out.
Yeah, let's unpack it.
And separate the man from the myth.
The man from the myth.
Learn a little something along the way.
Exactly. And you know what's so interesting about him is that Neiman, he really achieved this mainstream success, but he also kind of ruffled some feathers in the art world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was pulling inspiration from everywhere, like abstract expressionism, impressionism, Fauvism, even American realism.
That's quite the mix.
It is a mix.
So he's not afraid to kind of break the mold then.
No, not at all.
But how did he blend all those influences into a cohesive style?
Yeah.
What makes a Neiman a Neiman?
Well, think about bold colors and those energetic brush strokes.
Okay.
Almost like he's trying to capture this raw energy,
Right.
you know, and look at his paintings of athletes,
Yeah.
for instance.
Yeah, those are some of the most popular ones, right?
Right, like the boxers mid-punch or, baseball players swinging for the fences. You can feel the energy like radiating off the canvas.
That's like he made a static image dynamic.
Right,
Like
yeah.
you're right there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where Neimanism comes in.
Okay.
It's not just about the subject matter. It's the way that he conveys the movement, the emotion through the brushstrokes, the color,
I see.
the way he composes the entire scene.
So it's not just what he paints, but how he paints it.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
But, okay, so we know the subjects, we know the Playboy connection.
right.
But his work extends beyond just bunnies.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so tell me a little more.
Sports celebrities' nightlife.
Uh-huh.
He was just drawn to scenes that just crackled with life and energy.
Yeah, you can see that.
And remember, it was the era of pop art.
Yes.
Celebrating that everyday life and the popular culture.
Uh-huh.
And Neiman fit right in.
It's interesting because those subjects themselves are inherently dynamic.
Right.
It's like his style and his content were totally in sync.
Yeah, absolutely.
But to bring it back to Playboy,
Right.
how did this artist with this, seemingly unconventional style
Right.
and diverse subject matter,
Mhm.
how did he become so intertwined with the magazine?
Well, it all started with a chance encounter
Oh, really?
at a Chicago department store, believe it or not.
No way.
Yes. So Neiman and Hugh Hefner,
Okay.
they crossed paths while they were both working at Carson Perry Scott.
Wow.
So, a few years later, Hefner launches Playboy, and guess who he asks to contribute illustrations?
Leroy Neiman.
Leroy Neiman. What a moment in history.
Yeah, what if they had never met?
Right.
So how did that initial collaboration evolve?
Well, that first project blossomed into a partnership that lasted over 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah, Neiman created the Femlin. That little mischievous gremlin on the party jokes page?
Yes.
And he also had that long-running feature called Man at His Leisure, which was like a visual diary of his travels to all these glamorous places.
Let's talk about exposure.
Yeah.
I mean, his career became so intertwined with the entire Playboy phenomenon.
It really is almost impossible to separate the two.
Wow.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Because Neiman's art wasn't just featured in Playboy, it helped to define the Playboy philosophy.
Hold on. Break that down for me. What exactly is the Playboy philosophy?
So essentially, it was about embracing this lifestyle of pleasure and sophistication,
Okay.
Cocktails, casinos,
Right.
and, all targeted at the young urban man.
Sure.
And Neiman's work really offered this visual representation of that aspirational world.
So his art wasn't just reflecting a lifestyle, it was helping to define it.
Precisely. His vibrant colors, the dynamic compositions, the subjects, the athletes, the celebrities, the nightlife, it all visually captured that hedonistic spirit that Playboy was selling.
And remember, this is a time when art, especially anything avant-garde, may have clashed with traditional masculinity.
Right. Very different era.
So Neiman's art wasn't just depicting this lifestyle, it was making it maybe more appealing,
Uh-huh.
more accessible to men who might have otherwise felt like art wasn't for them.
Exactly. You could say that he helped normalize art appreciation for a certain segment of the population.
Yeah.
And one critic even went so far as to call Neiman the artist for Playboy readers afraid that liking art was gay.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
It is. And it really speaks to this complex relationship between art and masculinity and those societal norms at the time.
So what are we to make of all this?
Yeah.
Was Neiman breaking down stereotypes by bringing art to a wider audience?
Right.
Or was he reinforcing certain expectations?
It's a good question.
I mean, that's a question worth pondering.
It is.
One thing's for sure, his relationship with Playboy was a game changer,
Absolutely.
both for his career and for how a generation of men perceived art.
Absolutely. It raises these really fascinating questions about how art influences, cultural attitudes and social change.
Yes.
But before we get too philosophical,
Right.
let's take a step back and analyze Neiman's artistic style,
Okay.
because there's a lot more to unpack there.
All right. I'm all for getting granular. Let's dissect those brushstrokes
Okay.
and see what makes a Neiman
Let's
tick.
do it. All right. So, we talked about those brushstrokes,
Okay.
and we touched on Neiman's diverse influences.
Yeah, it was quite a mix.
It was. To understand Neimanism, we need to unpack how he synthesized all those inspirations.
Give me all the juicy details. Where do we even begin?
His love for bold colors and expressive forms points us right to the Expressionists,
Okay.
especially those giants like Picasso and Matisse.
You can definitely see that in his work.
Right.
There's a raw energy there,
Absolutely.
like almost contagious.
It is. And he wasn't afraid to experiment with form and push boundaries. Then there's that undeniable influence of the abstract expressionists.
Okay, like Jackson Pollock.
Jackson Pollock, exactly.
Yeah.
His work pulsates with that same dynamism, that sense of movement, captured in those energetic brushstrokes.
So it's like he took bits and pieces from these different movements and blended them into something new.
It's a great way to put it. And remember, this was a period of immense change in the art world.
Yeah.
Abstract expressionism was all the rage, pop art was emerging, and Neiman was right in the thick of it,
Wow.
absorbing it all.
Like a sponge.
Like a sponge.
He squeezed it all out onto the canvas.
Exactly.
Created something unique,
yeah.
something we now call Neimanism.
Right.
But it wasn't just about replicating the styles.
No.
It feels like he grasped the ideas behind those movements
Yes.
and made them his own.
Exactly. Take pop art, for example.
Okay.
It was about celebrating the everyday,
Right.
elevating the mundane to the level of art.
Right.
And that's exactly what Neiman did,
Okay.
but in his own inimitable way.
So he found beauty in the thrill of a sporting event.
Yeah. The electricity of a night out.
Yeah.
I mean, these are things people could relate to,
Right.
but he elevated them.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And that accessibility, that ability to
Well.
connect with people on that level
Yeah.
is a huge part of his appeal.
It all circles back to that bridging the gap
Yes.
between high art
Uh-huh.
and popular culture.
Yes. He took those fine art elements, the technique, the composition,
Yeah.
and applied them to subjects that were just more fun,
More relatable.
more relatable.
Yeah.
And then there's the French Impressionists and Post-Impressionists.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking...
Toulouse-Lautrec,
Okay.
Renoir Degas.
Yeah,
They were masters at capturing fleeting moments of daily life,
right.
social scenes, public spectacles, the energy of the city.
You see that in Neiman's work.
Exactly.
The sports scenes, the casino paintings.
Yes, it's all snapshots of life happening as it was happening.
Capturing that energy.
Yes, that's a great observation. It's about capturing that, the zeitgeist, the spirit of the age,
Right.
and translating it onto the canvas.
And for Neiman, that was the dynamism, the excitement, the glamour
Yeah.
of the mid-20th century.
Exactly.
So it wasn't just about mimicking styles.
No.
It was about understanding the philosophy behind them,
Yes.
applying them to a new context, and ultimately making them his own.
Exactly. And that's the essence of Neimanism. It's that vibrant fusion of influences,
Uh-huh.
but filtered through, his personality, his love for life, his fascination with those moments of, energy and excitement.
So I'm starting to see Neimanism not just as a style, but as a way of seeing the world,
Right.
a lens through which he filtered these everyday moments,
Yeah.
transformed them into something extraordinary.
Uh-huh.
But let's not forget about the elephant, or should I say bunny, in the room.
Ah, yes, the Playboy connection.
We talk about how his art helped define that Playboy philosophy.
Right.
But what was it about his art that resonated so deeply with that audience?
That's a great question. While his depictions of, beautiful women and exotic locales and glamorous lifestyles certainly played a part, I think it goes deeper than just the superficial.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Hmm.
Tell me more.
It's about the way he portrayed those subjects. You know, the feeling he infused into those scenes.
Okay.
It wasn't just about objectification. There was a sense of energy and playfulness, even a touch of whimsy
But
that elevated it beyond the purely sensual.
that's interesting,
Hmm.
because even in his more sensual pieces, there's a lightheartedness.
Yes.
Almost a wink to the viewer. It's
Oh,
like he's inviting you to join the party.
exactly. And that playfulness, that lighthearted approach was a core part of that Playboy brand.
Yeah.
Enjoying life, indulging in pleasures, not taking things too seriously.
And Neiman's art captured that perfectly.
Yes, a visual embodiment of that philosophy.
Sophisticated, stylish,
Yes.
but always fun.
Always.
And don't forget about that color palette.
Yes, those vibrant colors, almost explosive.
Amplifying that energy.
Exactly, making his work a feast for the senses.
It's like you're not just looking at his art, you're experiencing it.
That's it.
You can almost feel the music playing, champagne bubbling,
Yes.
the energy of the crowd.
You've hit the nail on the head. His art was immersive. It drew you into that work or that lifestyle and made you feel like you were a part of it.
Right.
And I think that is what truly resonated with that Playboy audience. They weren't just passively observing the art.
Yeah.
They were actively engaging with it.
This has been an illuminating deep dive so far.
It had.
We've explored the influences, the signature style he called Neimanism,
Yeah.
and of course the Playboy connection.
Right.
But it begs the question, what is the lasting legacy of an artist like Neiman?
Right.
Is he simply remembered as the Playboy artist?
Yeah.
Or is there more to his story?
Well, that's the question we'll grapple with in our final segment.
Okay, so let's talk about legacy.
Yeah.
What is Leroy Neiman's lasting legacy?
Yeah.
Is he going to be forever known as the Playboy artist?
Right.
Or is there more?
Well, it's a really complex question, and I don't think there's like a simple answer.
Yeah.
I mean, the Playboy connection undeniably shaped his career,
Right.
his public image, gave him a platform, level of notoriety, commercial success that, a lot of artists just dream of.
But was it a double-edged sword?
Ooh.
I mean, did that association kind of overshadow his artistic talent?
Well, that's a debate that's been raging for decades.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, some critics saw his work as too commercial,
Okay.
too focused on, just surface level glamour.
Yeah.
It lacked the depth and the seriousness of real art.
Right.
So they labeled him, an illustrator, a pop culture phenomenon more than a true artist.
But others saw something more.
Absolutely. They saw an artist who bottled the energy and the excitement of his era, someone who democratized art, made it accessible to a wider audience.
Yeah, it's like you were saying before.
Right. They saw, a skilled draftsman, a virtuoso of color,
Right.
a storyteller who painted, a vibrant and engaging world.
So, I mean, opinions are divided,
Yeah.
but is that not the case with most artists that reach a certain level of fame?
Right. Public perception and critical acclaim don't always line up.
Yeah, that's true. And, I mean, art is subjective.
Exactly.
What one person finds profound,
Right.
another might find, completely trivial.
Exactly. There's no single right answer.
Yeah.
I think what matters is the impact the art has, the emotions that it evokes, the conversations that it sparks.
And Neiman's art did all of that.
Oh, absolutely. Love it or hate it, he left his mark on the world.
He did. And he created a visual language that was instantly recognizable.
Yes.
And often imitated. I mean, you can see his influence everywhere, from sports photography,
Right.
advertising, even fashion.
Yeah, he really captured a specific moment in time, a feeling, and did it with a style that was just uniquely his.
So maybe his legacy isn't about fitting into a specific category or label.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about the connection he forged with viewers, the way his art made people feel.
Yeah, the memories it evokes.
You hit on something really crucial there.
Yeah.
Art has that power to transcend time and place
Right.
and connect us to something larger than ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's a legacy worth celebrating.
Well said. So next time you see a Leroy Neiman, don't just dismiss it as Playboy art.
Yeah.
Take a moment, really look at it.
Uh-huh.
See the energy, the vibrancy, the skill, the passion
Vision.
poured onto that canvas.
Yeah.
Then decide what his legacy means to you.
Remember, art is meant to be interpreted. There's no right or wrong answer.
Right.
The important thing is to engage with it, think critically. Allow yourself to feel something.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Ah!
That's the magic of art, isn't it? It makes us think, feel, question, and connect. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Leroy Neiman. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.